Do you know, Dave, when I see your journey and when I was reading the book and I'm seeing my own, we shared a lot of the same things. So I, former school teacher, then became a comedian, lefty liberal all the way through. And slowly I've watched my own side degenerate into lunacy. When was the moment for you where you thought, you know what, I can't do this anymore?
So I lay out three cases in the book, or three moments in the book where I really saw like the craziness of the left. I'll do one of them for you now because I think that'll probably get us into a lot of the things that are happening these days. So I was on air at the Young Turks, and as you guys know, the Young Turks is a progressive, I would say, far left socialist YouTube channel. I would say they've gone further in that direction since I left a couple of years ago. But I was on their channel, and remember, I was a Bernie supporter, the whole thing. You can find videos. I'm supporting Bernie Sanders, who I now know has basically, the worst set of ideas possible. But we were on air and we were critiquing Fox News, which is what almost everyone on the left does all day long. Instead of coming up with their own good ideas, they watch Fox News all day and then they just sort of wait to find something that they said so that they can spend hours talking about it. And as I said earlier, I didn't want to write a book about things that I'm against. I want to write things that I'm for. Sadly, the left seems to always position itself, especially in a day of Trump. They're always positioning themselves on whatever it is, the reverse of Trump, that's what we're for. But that's not a position. That just means you're going to take almost any position. And by the way, I think that's Trump's greatest gift, is he can get all his opponents to take any position that he wants. If Trump said open borders tomorrow, they'd all be for a wall. So in effect, we were watching a clip on Fox News, and there was a guy by the name of David Webb, who was, I believe, on Hannity. And David happens to be a black conservative. Now, I say happens to be because you're not going to believe this, but I believe black people can hold all sorts of political opinions, including black conservatives. There are black libertarians, there are black anarchists.
This is all very problematic, Dave. I'm out, mate. I'm out. I can't take it.
I know. It's a litany of racism and misogyny. Anyway, we're watching this clip of him, and he's talking about basic conservative principles, and they're calling him an Uncle Tom and a grifter and a sellout and all of these things. And what they didn't know, my co-hosts, was that David Webb and I are friends. I had a show on Sirius XM radio years before, and I was a lefty and he was on the right, but we met in the hall one day, we became friends, and I used to go on his show probably once a week or so, and we would debate, and I'd take the lefty position, he'd take the righty position, and then we'd go downstairs, we'd have a steak and have some whiskey, and we were good, and we did this for years. Now I'm watching the supposed tolerant liberals look at a black man who happens to think differently than they think black people are allowed to think, and suddenly they think that gives them license to call him all of the worst things in the world. And at that moment, because I know David, and he is a good, decent man who has spent, the time coming to his conclusions, honestly, I looked at them and I thought, wow, you guys are the racists. The anti-racists are the racists. And I think we're seeing that explode into everywhere right now. The people who purport to be the anti-racists are the ones constantly injecting racism into society. The average person in America, certainly, but again, in the West generally, is not racist, meaning that they would want different laws for different people based on race. They're not racist. Now, that doesn't mean you might have some old prejudices, and we should do our best to unpack those and expose them, of course. But the idea that the system itself is racist, but really what this moment was about was a clear-cut example of them attacking a man I know and using his race against him because he didn't think the way they wanted him to think. And I thought, this is what I'm seeing proliferate. And now we see it virtually everywhere.